We're going to be talking about writing targeted cover letters and resumes tonight. The title on your handout, the PowerPoint slides, is it's a little bit different from this. I think it's preparing, help me out, targeted resumes and cover letters that can land you an interview, something like that. Yeah. And that's the goal of our presentation tonight. Many of the interviews that you're going to have going forward may well be a result of your strategic networking. But you can't always network your way into an interview. There's just no way to do that. So you need to put together a resume that is really going to market yourself well, so that as the reader reads that first page of that one-page or maybe two-page resume, by the time they're halfway to two-thirds of the way through that resume, they know they want you for an interview. You want to keep their attention. Everything that's on your resume certainly has to be related to the position description of that opportunity that you're applying for. Two things before we get going. Number one, as you have questions, just raise your hand. Okay? So we'll take them as we go. We've got about an hour or so, and we'll get as much done as we can tonight. Also, what I do, I live in Fort Atkinson. I've been working at UW-Milwaukee, and I've been going back and forth. On Thursday afternoons, that's my afternoon to do my ministry, in which I meet with individuals at Perkins for coffee, and then we go over resumes, or we talk about putting together a personal job search plan, or we talk about doing interview skills, or even doing a little bit of a mock interview in the back of the Perkins restaurant. So if you would like assistance with any of those, is my Gmail address, Tom, on the document, the program for tonight, on the front or maybe the back of that sheet? It's on the back. Oh, it's my Gmail address, right, Sandy? Yeah, just email me and give me the times in which you're available and the Thursday afternoons in which you're available. And then I'll take the very first day and time, the very first Thursday and time that fits your schedule, that fits my schedule. We'll go ahead and get together. If Thursday afternoon absolutely cannot work for you, maybe you're working 9 to 5 and it's going to be a little bit tough, then we may be able to do a Thursday meeting or possibly another day of the week. I come out to Brookfield on Thursday afternoons. If I have appointments, meetings at another time, I usually ask the individual to go as far as Delafield. When I go to Brookfield, it's pretty close to an hour. The Perkins at Gerke's Corners. But other than Thursdays, I try and limit myself to Delafield, the Perkins there, just to save a little bit on the wear and tear and a lot of the back and forth. But we'll find a way to make it work if you want to get together. Okay? Now, first thing I need to know is, what do you most want to know? So let's do a top 10, okay? And I'll write these on the board really quickly. I want to know what you want to know about resume writing that you're unsure of, or you've heard conflicting things about a part of putting together your resume. As an aside real quickly, so much of the stuff online is just garbage. About 80% of it is not very good. 20% of it is really good, but most of it really isn't very good at all. So be careful about trusting stuff online with how to do a resume, and even resume examples. It's really tough to find a decent sample resume across various fields that's well written. A lot of poorly written resumes, but not too many good ones. Okay? Okay, so top 10, let's go. Yes?
If you change careers,
all right,
within the last 12 years, and you only had one job, how do you put a resume together?
Okay. How to put a resume together. Covered. We'll get to it.
Timelines and like historical dates, when you get to be a little bit older, and you got 35 years.
Who's that in here?
But there's different, what do you do? How do you put that on?
Yep, thanks. timelines. Chip?
Limited to one page. How long should it be?
Okay.
How long?
Next. Yes.
Yeah, what if you're returning to a career? Like I had a very intense career for 10 years, took a few years off with something else, then had another incredibly intense 5 years, and then I took several years off. Now I'm going back into what I did before. How should I handle that on a resume?
Okay. We'll try and cover that. If I don't get to the detail, we can talk individually about that. There's always a way to market oneself given difficult situations, and it may take a little back and forth, and so I can know dates and what you may have been doing on the side that was maybe more volunteer work, but the functions that you were using in that volunteer work were kind of what you were doing before and what you want to be doing again. So a question like that could be highly individualized, to get to a response that you'd be satisfied with. So if I don't cover it, I don't think I'm going to. Let's talk individually. Yes, ma'am.
I have that, when you said volunteer, it really sparked. I have volunteer work right now, but nothing else. So am I supposed to put this is a volunteer job or I'm currently employed on my cover letter? That's a quandary for me. But I put it down as a job because it is, 20 hours a week and it is work.
Okay.
But I'm just wondering whether I should say this is volunteer opportunity or is it employment? And also another question I have is I have 2 years here, 1 year there, 6 months here, 2 years here. In my resume, in the social services field, the budgets were cut frequently.
Tough.
Yeah, nonprofit grants.
Right.
And things like that. So I was, so that's I've been accused of skipping around a lot.
Okay.
In interviews. So that, I'd like that addressed.
Okay.
And that could be individually too.
Yeah, it may well be individual. I could share something really quickly. If what you're doing on what you're doing on a volunteer basis, those work functions, if they're the same work functions that you've done in related employment, the same work functions that you would be doing in your future employment, you can include that under what's your experience?
Data entry, administrative, phones, multi-line phones.
You'd have an appropriate heading. You would list that position and all of its work functions in value order, and then your very last bulleted statement, not up higher, not as a title, not as a heading, would be volunteered my time 25 plus hours per week, something like that. So we're being honest, we're being ethical, but it's way at the bottom.
Yeah, transferable skills.
That's right. If they read it high, it's gone. They're not going to be as interested. But if it's at the bottom, then they'll move on to the next one, and hopefully they'll be just as excited.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody else? Anybody else? Okay. Great. Tom, got them all? Thank you.
One here.
One more? Chip?
Yeah. Should you put references on your resume?
I can answer that real quickly. No. You'd have a separate reference sheet. In fact, one of the sheets that you have, this is one of my reference sheets that I've used. 3 to 5 references, related references first, other work references after that. Maybe one character reference. If we have time, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's separate. It used to be on the resume years and years and years, and then 1 year somewhere back, whenever, it all disappeared. And so it's a separate reference sheet, and you include it to give to the employer when they ask for it, not beforehand. It's presumptuous beforehand.
And somebody else brought this up to me. Should the resume document, whether it's a Word document or a PDF file, should that be locked so that it cannot be altered? You know what I mean?
Electronic copy.
Yeah. If I send my resume electronically, should it be the type of resume that cannot be altered by whoever receives it?
That's a really good question. I don't have a best answer for that. If you're sending it to an organization and they're going to upload it, and of course they're going to be looking for keywords, and the candidates with the most keywords wins, I don't know if that might have an effect one way or another. on their software.
The other thing is you can copy and paste anything.
Well, that's true.
Even if you lock it, they can take it, they can run their scanner over it and do Control C on it.
That's true.
And they can put it wherever they want and do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You know what? Thank you. That does sound like it's a non-issue. I haven't had that question come up, and I haven't read about it and haven't dealt with it with clients before. But it's a good question.
A friend of mine brought this up to me today. He said you should scan it and then send it to him.
For those of you that have recently graduated, education would be up. If you've been out for a while, education would go down. After that would be your related experience. After that, maybe could be technology skills, maybe language skills, if that's important for the kind of work that you're going into. After that, maybe community involvement. They love that in business and industry. After that, your additional work experience. Forget about chronological resumes. Related experience up, additional work experience goes down. And then, given your related experience and your additional work experience, it's all listed in chronological order. Most of the time, it's going to be because the most valued position that you've had in the past is the one that can best promote you for the opportunity you're looking for. But sometimes that's not the case. So your related experience and your additional work experience both are put in value order. What do you want the employer to read first, second, third, up here? And then down there, typically, your additional work experience is in chronological order. But the related experience may not be, and if it's not, no big deal. Because you're going to have the dates, and you'll see this in a couple of minutes, you're going to have the dates of your experiences way over on the right side. So far right that it's right side justified, the last character. Okay? A lot of people will, you'll see this online, oh my gosh, give me a Pepto. They'll put, on the resume, they'll put their dates in the left-hand column. You know, like my kids say, nuh-uh. You don't do that. You don't want to be reading dates first. You want to get the employer to be reading what you've done by function that's so important first. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, now, given all of this, here is your, or a, position description. Sorry we don't have a bigger whiteboard. We were trying to find one, and it's in the church somewhere, but this is a big church. And it just didn't make it here tonight, so we apologize. Okay, position description. Position description basically is made up of major job functions, or responsibilities, and the skills that support those job functions, right? So, if you've got A10 job functions, 3-5 skill areas, all of this, or excuse me, this is supported by what you have here. You don't have anything on your resume, excuse me, that directly or indirectly doesn't support that position description. Did I say that right? Okay, yeah. Everything on the resume supports that. There's nothing on your resume that does not support that. Is that good?
You actually want that pulled off. You would say pull that stuff off because it has nothing to do with the job description.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even your other work experience, you've got to claim your time, so that makes your other work experience relevant. You're going to be claiming time, and there may be one function within your additional work experiences that supports maybe a mid or a lower job function on the position description, or supports a skill that they're looking for. Well, under your additional work experience, you may just have one bullet point for that job. Okay?
So when you are talking about reworking your resume per the job description, are you talking about an online submission, or are you talking about a face-to-face, handoff, and sending it in?
When you're making individual applications for jobs, in person, online, companies, organizations. Now, here's the deal. You can put, and this is going to be hard for me to say, I try and keep a professional demeanor, but to make a point, sometimes I revert. This is really hard for me to say. Sometimes you may decide to use a more generic resume. If you could do that and put it online, it may help you, it may not. The more specific you get, if you throw it out there to Monster, to Wisconsin Jobs, to Career Builder, you may get some bites. I received a professional job through what was available in way back then, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, when there was only hard copy.
Because they're using systems that are searching for
Sure they are.
keywords, so-
Sure they are. Yep. If you're too specific, that can hurt you. Here's the deal. Something to keep in mind. In 2010, did I bring this up last month or the month before? I may have. What percentage of offers were given to, in the end, successful candidates? They got a job. What percentage of those came as a result of the candidate making application to a job board? What percentage?
5%?
Oh, 6%. 6%. That's it. That's it. Do people get jobs through job boards? Yes. Doing strategic networking is a whole nother presentation. But that's really what the job seeker needs to be doing.
When you say applying to a job board, do you mean like I'm applying for care, senior care positions at this place called Extendicare? So I posted my resume online at extendicare.com for an open position. Is that considered job board?
No.
Oh.
When you're applying directly to the organization, the organization's position description, yeah. What I'm talking about, I maybe wasn't very clear, is when you submit your resume for whatever may be out there. Yeah, not to a specific organization. When you're putting your resume into their database. Yeah. Okay. Questions, comments? Yes.
What do you do if you really don't have a position description?
If you don't have a position, you have to know what you want. And once you know what you want, you go find those position descriptions, even if jobs that have already been filled, just to give you a start in putting together a targeted resume. You have to know what you want, then go find the descriptions. If you don't know what you want, then we start with, what's my calling mission? I've got to figure that out. Yeah. Good question. Okay, moving on. The second slide, your resume should be complete, not brief. A 1 or 2 page resume is acceptable. Many of you have heard a 1 page resume only. Some of you heard it really doesn't make any difference. A few of you may have heard that. Here's the rule. Here's a 1 page resume and candidates' related experience is right here. Can you guys all see this?
Yep.
Related experience covers maybe this much ground. Sorry for the slop. Okay? This is a 1 page resume. If your related experience takes the reader, and they're still highly interested in you, given what you've written down here. If your related experience goes this far or further, you need a 2 page resume. That's how you tell. That's how you can tell. Most people that have been out in the workforce in one specific area and they're continuing to apply for new opportunities in that same area, they're going to have a 2 page resume. Younger grads, most of them are going to have 1 page resumes. Truth be told, most employers like reading 1 page resumes. But if your resume is going into a database looking for keywords, and you know, most keywords wins kind of a thing. Additionally, again, if your related experience takes the employer down here, or all the way down to the bottom, then you need a 2-page resume. When I critique resumes, what I tell the person who's writing the resume, for the first draft, put everything in. Err on the side of putting too much in. Because as my job is to be the employer for you, I'm in their shoes. I lost my train of thought, hang on. I can't critique what I can't see. So put everything in. We want to make sure that the potential employer is reading everything that they have to read to highly consider you for an interview. Okay? Chip?
In the related experience section of the resume, do you advise that you put the reason for leaving?
No.
Okay.
No. That's going to come almost all the time, except with some small organizations, a few mid-size. On a separate application, you're going to have to list that, but no, not on the resume. I mean, as a last bullet point, this is a separate piece of information. If you were promoted from one position to another, you want to claim that promotion, and that would be the last bullet point, given that position that you're putting under related experience. Yeah. Okay? Questions? Okay. Next. Your resume should be letter perfect. Misspelled words, all of that is bad. Yes. No misspellings at all.
Hey, Craig, I do have a question. Just in regards to the content, if you've been in the field for a while and you've got multiple years, let's say in sales, okay?
Okay.
In the building industry, as an example. And let's say within there, you know, I had 17 years, I had 5 positions with this company. And then I went to another company, I wasn't there that long, but I had maybe a position or 2, and then you had something else in sales. If it's all in the same area, I mean, can you consolidate as one functional point and talk to that, or do you list each one separate? What if duties are similar in a lot of those?
Yeah,
I mean, they may be a higher responsibility, you know, you went from a floor person to a regional sales manager.
Yeah. You do the does it fit test. If it fits for you to list all of those positions and they can see how promoted, and so on, then maybe you do need to put that in. Certainly, you don't need to repeat the same work functions time after time after time. State it once, and that's usually good enough. If you're doing the same work function but somehow more responsibility, then you would make sure to talk about that. Yeah. All depends. Okay, so, misspellings. Make sure, before you send that resume off, no misspellings, not one. If you're the hiring manager and you see a misspelling, what does it say about that candidate?
They don't check their work.
Okay.
They don't think clearly.
Don't think clearly, don't check their work. Ruth, I know you're thinking.
Maybe they don't care.
Okay, they don't care. They're not that interested in this position. They're applying anyway. Lazy, sloppy, not detail-oriented, all of that. So make sure you have another set of eyes look at that resume, at least one other set of eyes before you send it out. That would be important. A education professor about 20 years ago told me what she does, or what she recommends, is to read the resume backwards, and sometimes you'll catch a misspelling or two that you may miss otherwise. That may work for you, may not. Okay? Oh, by the way, let me let you know this now, that the resume examples are of a couple of students that were just about to graduate. I didn't have the time to go and dig and to get some resumes of mid-level managers, individuals that have been in the workforce for 15, 20 years. So what you have in front of you tonight is a skeleton of what you're going to put on your resume probably. And I think what I'll do is I'll have each of you list one opportunity that you're interested in with your name and email address. I'll pass around a pad during our break. and then I'll try and find one resume that would fit the kind of employment that you're seeking. I'll send it to you. Okay, give me a week or two, but I'll get it done. Okay. All right. Next. Make your resume as readable and pleasing to the eye as possible. Tom, would you please put up that first resume number 1 with Tony Smith? Okay, when you look at Tony's resume, either hard copy in front of yourself or if you can read this, what grabs your attention? You see it right away. You don't go down to it. The information comes up to your eyes. It stands out. What piece of information?
The name.
The name. Absolutely. Yep. Centered, bold, not too big, but not too small. If you've got a name that's kind of, that's small, mousy, what does it say about that candidate? Kind of gave it away a little bit. Yeah. You want to promote confidence. You know what you want. Yeah. Okay, what else?
Your work experience shoots out at you. I prefer career objective and then work experience.
That's exactly right. Yeah, human resource experience. So Tony used upper caps, used bold, and used spacing. Your eye grabs onto that real fast. What you want to do is you want to use italics, you want to use spacing, you want to use bold, you want to use upper caps, you want to use, did I say italics? You want to use bullets. Tony's resume, he's got bullets, not the real big ones, not the tiny ones that you can barely see, so, you know, but you've got bullets. Don't use squares, don't use asterisks. Bullets are very concise, precise, business-like. Employers like bullets. Bullets draw the eye to the various work functions real easy. Okay? Learn and use a terminology in your resume that is common in the field you're pursuing. Yes. So think about the field that you're going into. Okay? Then, given the various work functions that would be listed on your resume, you would take this action verb sheet. This is really good. When I came to UWM, I had my own action verb sheet. I was even kind of sinful. I was a little prideful about it. It was so good. And I became humble real quickly when I saw this. This is very good. So use this. These action verbs, find the strongest action verb that you can that's in your field. Those action verbs go at the beginning of each of your functional statements. For Tony, if I could have Tony's resume again, please. He's looking to do HR. He conducted interviews, communicated vacancies, developed and presented supervisory training sessions, researched and co-developed employee referral program, recruited, filled, developed career ladders, designed a database, placed employment advertising or advertisements. So you want to use the action verbs that are within your field. Additionally, you want to go back to that position description. And you know what you're going to find? A few key words. You want to take those keywords off the description and embed them in your resume. Okay? And you want to front end load those keywords at the top of your resume, toward the top of your resume, under your related experience, as a part of your objective, which we'll talk to in a few minutes. Additionally, you want to take the keywords that are on the company organization's website. The home page, and then maybe one page in, across a number of different areas. Look for the keywords. You'll know what they are. You'll see them. You want to find a couple of very definite keywords. Go to the mission purpose statement of the organization. Just about everybody that has their company org online now has a mission purpose statement. You'll find a couple of keywords there. They'll know what you're doing. You want to talk their language. That's another way to grab their attention. Okay? Okay. Next, your resume won't be, okay. Your resume is going to take between 3 and 4 drafts. If you've been putting off doing a resume and, oh, I'll get it done the night before, 48 hours beforehand, probably not. You've got to take your time. You've got to go at it and step away, go at it, step away, go at it, step away. Draft 1, then draft 2, then by the time you get to draft 3 or so, you're probably fine-tuning and then you're going to be done. So it's just going to take some time. Okay. We'll move on to content, identifying information. You can leave this resume up. That's good. Thanks a lot, Tom. Could you put resume number 2 up? For most of you, you've got one address. This is just one way to format. You've got your name. Then underneath, I'd probably come down, the rest of the contact information maybe come down half a line, South Prairie Street, and then city and state, zip, phone number, and then email address. If you've got 2 phone numbers, put them both down, and then identify them as cell and home or whatever. Cell and home would be in parentheses right after the phone number, and then it would be a small c, a small h for home. You can either do the c and the h, or cell and home, but the c and the h in both cases would be lowercase. If any of you have sort of funky email addresses that the employer might go, what? Then you'll want to get another email address. Anytime there is a question mark on a candidate's resume, about 99% of the time it's a negative for the candidate. You never want the employer to go, what's this all about? I don't get this. There should be no question, no questions, question marks from the employer's perspective. The only time I can think when a question mark might be positive is if you know some software that they're not familiar with. Ooh, they know some technology thing that I don't know. That may be all right. But most all the time, question mark is not good for the candidate. Yes?
I got a question on when I'm submitting to Pro Healthcare or Aurora, their big, huge websites. I have submitted my bullets in italics, and then they told me that would that formatting in my resume needed to get lost, and I reformatted, took all the bullets out, took all the spacing out, took all the indentation and the italics out for them. So I basically have 2 versions of the resume, the one with the formatting and the one with just the text.
That's very good.
So that's,
Yeah.
The italics got kind of wasted.
That's right. That's right.
For most big employers, they're not going to want that.
No, that's correct. That's correct, yeah. It's always nice to have 2 versions.
Yeah.
You can send one to the company organization and they'll put it into their system. You can take a copy for eyes only to read and send that to the hiring manager.
Okay.
Or somebody else, yeah.
You can find out who that is.
Yeah. And again, ideally, you want to meet with these guys and gals before their job's available. Yeah.
But you already addressed that in plain text version?
Yes.
The 4 different versions.
That's correct. Yes, that's right.
Well,
Chip?
if you take out the formatting, what are you left with? Like in that
You're left with a really plain resume. Yeah. If you're not sure if they need a plain text resume for their software, that if it's not noted in the advertisement, or given what you've heard, you haven't heard whether or not you should use a plain text, give them a call and ask. Yeah.
It's usually because their IT department demands that it has to be plain text.
Yeah.
And that your formatting is going to be lost.
That's exactly right.
And sometimes I've seen it after they got their hands on it, and it was like a big puzzle, juggle, mixed up puzzle of And I didn't want that to happen, so I went back to the plain version.
Right.
In some places that you post your resume on, like MilwaukeeJobs.com,
Okay.
they'll make a mess of your format.
Yeah. If it's not noted in the advertisement, or given what you've heard, you haven't heard whether or not you should use the plain text, give them a call and ask. Yeah.
It's usually because their IT department demands that it has to be plain text.
Yeah.
And that your formatting is going to be lost.
That's exactly right.
And sometimes I've seen it after they got their hands on it, and it was like a big puzzle, juggle, mixed up puzzle of. And I didn't want that to happen, so I went back to the plain version.
Right.
In some places that you post your resume on, like MilwaukeeJobs.com,
Okay.
they'll make a mess of your format.
Yeah, they'll blow it up anyway.
They'll make a mess, and you go and you look at the. I went to one interview and they showed me the resume what the Milwaukee Jobs gave them when I applied, because you apply through Milwaukee Jobs.
Really?
And I'm like, how did you manage to read that?
Wow.
At this point, I handed one of my formatted resumes to them. They're like, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, I was, wow.
Yeah, I think there are a fair amount of candidates, quite honestly, that lose job interviews because they haven't sent a plain text. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're not sure, just call and ask.
Even if you do plain text, I mean, some of them it'll come through and it looks like a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Professional career objective. You're going to read here quite a bit. Oh, you don't need a professional career objective. And you don't want to listen to that. You always want to communicate at the top of your resume what you want, what you're after, what's your target. Let them know. Because they know there are just so many candidates that don't have a good idea. Or any number of candidates, for any of you that have done hiring, you know this, you look at the resume and they're using the same resume for tons of jobs across a number of fields. And you want your resume to be targeted. The rest of all of the information underneath your professional or career objective has to directly or indirectly support not only the job description, but that objective itself. For some individuals have a hard time putting down, just thinking through creating an eye-catching objective. If that happens to you, be disciplined and let the objective go. You know what you want. Put the rest of your resume together, and then after looking at what you have on paper or on your computer, putting together your objective might be a little bit easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the way I've done it when I've done it.
Okay. Some people would say, well, I don't know how to format my resume if I don't have a clear objective in mind. And if that's you, then you'll need to struggle a little bit in putting the objective down first. But part of the problem in writing a good objective is not knowing what to put, what to write in the objective. And I've got some information on the slide for you at the bottom of page 5 under objective. The kind of position you're seeking with the kind of organization that you want to work with, and then you want to list some skills that the employer is looking for. Remember the job functions list and the skills list on that position description that I had over here? Well, take a look at the top of that skills list. Read the first 2 or 3 major job functions, figure out what skills they're looking for up there, and then that's what you're going to put down in your professional objective. That's how you're going to lead as you write your entire resume. Could you put Tony's resume up, please? To secure a position in the HR field with an organization that will benefit from my strong, you could say strong, you could say well-developed, you could say highly developed, analytical, verbal, interpersonal, and written communication and leadership skills. Could you put up resume number 2, please, Tom? To secure an assistant buyer position with a major retailer that will benefit from my analytical, verbal, and written communication, management, and technical skills. And if you have 10 or 15 years already banked in the area that you're going to continue to work in, at the end of your statement, you can place a comma and communicate let's see, and experiential. And my experiential background in the HR field, or and my 15 years of experience in human resources. You have to remember that whatever you're putting up here under the objective, you've got to be able to prove it down here. If you decide at the top of your resume to put together, or toward the top of your resume, something like a qualifications brief, everything that you have to put up there has to be proven further on down the resume. I've seen some really great, looking great reading qualifications briefs, but then when you look at what's below that on the resume, where is it? What have they done by function that proves it? And that they've done it well. Okay?
Just a real quick question.
Yes.
Looks like on Tony Smith, the 2010 was abbreviated to apostrophe 10. Is that acceptable?
Because you're so close to the right margin. Our hard copy is apostrophe 10.
Yeah, apostrophe 10, sure, you could do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and then also for Wisconsin, you can go WI.
Uh-huh.
Your address.
That's right.
So that's acceptable.
That's acceptable.
Sure.
Yes. Yes, the employer doesn't want to read Wisconsin, Wisconsin, Illinois, Illinois, Wisconsin, so the state abbreviation. Mm-mm.
You put the month and the year, or just the year?
It depends. Most of the time, those that have been out in the workforce for a little while, the years are fine. You don't need months. Yeah. Only if it makes sense, only if it fits. Every once in a while, there will be a situation where it's important to put the months. Can't think of one offhand, but you never want to say never. Most of the time, it's just the years. Yes. Mike?
No, that was.
Oh, that was the same question?
You were just, yes.
Okay. 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 Moving on. Education. Let's see. Do we have any recent college grads here? If we don't, yeah. Okay, education. Okay. Education, you want to make sure to list the school that you're graduating from, GPAs, 3.0 or above. That's usually what you go by, but it depends. If you're an accounting student that's just graduated, a 3.1 is something you probably don't want to brag about. You're going to need a 3.5 or higher. On the other hand, if you're going into social work, the GPA really isn't that big a deal. If it's above 3 point, you're certainly going to want to list that. But at the same time, it's what you've done by function that's really going to matter to the employer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, because that's all I have.
Okay. Okay.
3.2.
Yeah. And then for students, for maybe some of you who may even have a daughter or a son that's going to be graduating, looking for an internship, whatever, if they finance 30% or more of their college education, they can put something like this down. 50% or higher, you want to bold that number. Finance 50% of college expenses through work and scholarships, grants, work during the school year and summers, whatever. Loans don't count. Okay. Yes?
If you've been out of college for 30 years, is that still worth mentioning?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Your work, other experiences. Here's how you want to write your related experience. It's really pretty simple. You get a separate piece of paper for position A that you've had, position B that you've had, position C that you've had. 3 separate sheets of paper. Then you write down everything that you did by function in position A and B and C. Then you then after you've done that, you go to your action verbs page and you put the strongest action verb that you can, given the field that you're in, at the front of each one of these phrases. Okay? You can add the keywords from the job description, from the company website, company organization website, embed them in wherever you can. Okay? Then you put all of what you've done by function in value order for position A and B and C. Given the position description, what that job entails, what you would be doing by function, which one of these statements comes closest, which one of these prior work functions comes closest to matching that first job function on the job description. That gets number 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. Then you're listing all of your work functions from job A in value order. And then you do the same thing with B, and then you do the same thing with C. And then after that, you list your jobs that you've had in value order, under related experience, under accounting experience, under management experience, under engineering experience. B might be first, A, C. And then the dates, like we previously mentioned, are way over on the far right side. Okay? Questions, comments? Sir?
Excuse me, did I hear you right? You put them in value order as opposed to chronological? That's what I thought you said.
Yep, that's right, value order.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But whose value? Is it the value of the position you're applying to, right? Is it,
It's based on the job description of the position you're applying for.
okay,
Right.
that's the priority.
Exactly. That's right. Chip?
What's the example of that in the Tony Smith resume? What's an example of that in the Tony Smith resume?
Well, we don't have a position description of something he's applying for, so it makes it a little bit tough. All I can tell you is that given that position description, this is the more valued experience than the internship. And then given the job functions, the order of the job functions for a position that he would apply to, he wrote all of his functional statements in that same order. The same order. So this first statement, conducted interviews for clinical and administrative positions, conducting interviews must have been very high up on that position description.
Okay.
It was probably number 1.
But if you have, his jobs happen to be in chronological order.
And most of the time, with related experience, it's going to be. My point is, for those of you who's not the current job that you have, but the previous job that you had is really more related to the kind of work you want to be doing in the future, then you would flip-flop those positions on your resume under related experience. Okay, how much time do I have, Tom?
5.
No. Are you kidding me? Really? Okay. 10? 10 minutes? Okay. 10 minutes. Here we go. Technology, computer skills, leadership. Yeah, that's all school stuff. Professional activities. Page 7, the middle slide. You belong to professional organizations, especially in your field. They need to go down. You've participated in workshops. Go ahead and add that. Are you reading? If you're not reading for your own benefit, given the field that you're in, if you enjoy the field that you're in, you probably should be reading. And what you can always add to the bottom of a professional involvement section on your resume is current in the following publications, then list those 3 or 4 online or hard copy publications. What does that say about you as a candidate to the reader?
Stay fresh.
Yeah, stay fresh, absolutely. What else?
You're staying current in your field, and you you have a jump up on the other, you're advancing yourself.
Absolutely.
You jump on the other candidates.
That's right. Yeah. And you're doing that on your own time. You're volunteering to do it. You're not being made to do it. You're doing it on your own time. You must really be interested, maybe even having helped the hiring manager. This candidate is passionate about what they do. Yeah, that's what it's going to show. Okay. Leadership positions on our professional activities, go ahead and include that. If you're not involved in any professional organizations, I would get involved. Get involved. Okay. Community volunteer activities, business and industry loves reading a community activities section. If you're going into a soft science career, like counseling, social work, teaching, volunteer activities is a nice heading. And then you can go ahead and add that. The dates of when you've done things under community or volunteer activities, the dates usually aren't a big deal. If they help you, then include the dates. But time is important. So if you've been involved with an organization for 10 years, putting 10 years down, or 3.5 years, putting down the amount of time that you spent in the organization, or have been on the executive board, that's important. Okay, moving on to page 8, the reference sheet. We've talked about this a little bit. Be right there, Chip. 3 to 5 is usually what they're looking for. The references are in value order. If they're asking for 3, then give them 3. This is something that I've done in the past. We all want to follow directions, so you give them 3. But I like to give them 5. You want them to process your application as quickly as possible. They may not be able to get a hold of even reference number 1 and maybe number 2. So you can give them 5, put a little asterisk next to 4 and 5, and then communicate at the bottom, hey, here are a couple of more references just in case you're not able to get a hold of one of the 3 or 2 of the 3 references on top. Okay? All right. 5 minutes for cover letters? Awesome. Okay, you've got a cover letter handout. That the basics of that handout are the same whether you're a new graduate or you've been out for 10, 15, 20 years. Here's basically what you want to do with your cover letter. In paragraph number 1, if you're doing your networking, I would lead with the prior conversation that you've had with that hiring manager. You can't always do that, but every time you can, you want to do that. Okay? I really appreciated the time that you took to share with me this position at your organization. After further consideration, I'm even more excited about the possibility of working at your firm. If you can lead in the very first sentence of the first paragraph with a prior conversation that you've had with that hiring manager or with somebody else within the organization, you want to lead with that. Okay? Remember, tons of applications, and they're asking for cover letters. Tons of applications. How are they going to separate? How do they put you in the yes pile? Why are they blown away by all the information that you've given to them in the cover letter? So by the time they're maybe a third of the way through the second paragraph, up here, they're already wanting to read your resume. So you lead with, if you can, a prior conversation that you've had with a hiring manager, somebody else within the organization. Still the first paragraph, front end load keywords in that first paragraph, the first half of the second paragraph. A lot of keywords, okay? Number 3, in the cover letter, first paragraph, mention the mission purpose statement. If it's a real long one, just a portion of it. And then let them know how you are, in one way or another, you are one with that mission purpose statement. You love what they stand for, what they value, You want to let them know that you really want to work for them. You're well aware of their mission statement, and you want to work for them. Now, I can all but guarantee you that in paragraph 1, if you've listed a prior conversation, you've got any number of key words, and you've mentioned the mission purpose statement in the first paragraph, how many of your competition will have done this? Next to none. So they're really motivated to get your resume. Paragraph 2, you take the best of your experiential background and you highlight it in that second paragraph, as it directly supports the top job functions and the top skills of that position description. And even for the recent grads, if you look at that little handout, some of those second paragraphs are written pretty well, to give you a little bit of an idea. And then the third paragraph, ask for the interview. If it's in business and industry and isn't otherwise stated in the ad, whatever you've read, let them know that you'll be giving them a call. I will be sure to call you or your secretary, admin assistant within the next 3 working days to discuss the possibility of arranging a personal interview at your convenience. For soft science jobs like teaching and counseling, social work, you can almost never do that. The best that you could do is, ask for the interview. That's tradition. That's the way it works. But in business and industry, many times you can go ahead and let them know within the next week I'll be giving you a call. And then thank you for your last paragraph. It's just one line. Thank you for your consideration, something like that. I look forward to hearing from you soon. If you're not calling, but they're potentially going to give you a call or send you an email. Okay. One more piece of advice, and this has to do with the Internet-ready resume. This information came from, on the last page you'll see the URL. That's the Riley Guide. It's the best source on the internet for looking for jobs. It's not perfect, but it's really pretty good. If you're looking at a state, there are a lot of resources that are listed in here. Margaret Riley used to be a college librarian, and about 15, 20 years ago, she decided to do this. Maybe it was 15, I don't remember anymore. But her site's pretty good. That's where this information comes from. There is one piece of information on here, though, I disagree with, and it has to do with you forwarding your resume and cover letter by email. What she says is to put your cover letter and your resume in the text box in the body of that email. I wouldn't do that with a resume. It's going to be really tough to read no matter how you try and format it. So here's my suggestion. You want to make sure that they look at your resume, that they want to click on the attachment, okay, the resume. So here's what you do. First of all, in the subject field, you've got to have an enticing little statement so that they're going to want to click on that in their inbox so that they look at what you have in the email that you forwarded to them. In the text box of that email, put your cover letter. And then attach a copy of your cover letter, because that cover letter may well get passed around. It's tough to pass around when it's in a text box. The formatting gets weird and it doesn't help you. So you still want to attach a copy of that cover letter that you have in the text box, and then you attach your resume also. Okay? May I cheat for one more minute? 1 minute. You see how this went up? It's more than a minute, and I may not be here next month.
Just want to make sure I understand. You're giving them your resume twice, then, right?
You're giving them the cover letter twice. Cover letter, text in the text box. Cover letter, attachment, resume attachment. Cover letter and resume are attached the cover letter at the same time is, yeah. Okay, somebody else, other questions, comments?
I have a comment.
Yeah.
One thing that worked for me in my job search, for the cover letter, where you've got paragraph 2, to use bullets, where you highlight, you just say how my work experience meets your job requirements. Column left, you can bullet out their job description, break it down into 6 to 8 bullets, and on the right column, here's your requirements, my experience. And you are doubling your keywording, and you are showing the employer immediately, this is what we need, this is what she can do, boom, 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 boom. It's faster than reading through the resume. And they see your experience immediately, how you fit what they want. It's just another way of writing paragraph 2 in your cover letter. And then that gets them in.
So your requirements on the left and my experience on the right? Thank you.
So it's an intro paragraph, bullets, closing paragraph, just like that. It's just formatted differently with bullets that stand out.
It's very good. Yeah, when an employer sees bullets on a cover letter, it's always going to grab their attention because they so seldom see it. What I'll do in the next 5 minutes is put up one of my more recent cover letters, and about 2/3 of the way down, it has a list of bullets for most of my previous positions. And you can take a look at that too. It's just another way to format it. But that's really good. Thank you. Okay, if I can help you out in any way, either tonight, getting together around here to go over a resume draft, or if you're interested in signing up for one of the 2 courses, please do that over there. Catherine will be over there. And thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Craig.